Hello. Hello. So sorry we're not Kate Hudson and Anne Hadd. That's who everybody wanted. No. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming.
First of all, thank you for writing, yes, a funny movie. It's gorgeous. It's got Kate Hudson and Anne Hathaway and all
some other actresses.
Yes, but and some
of us had smaller but powerful roles.
and some lovely weddings and lots of good jokes. But this is a movie that in 2009 prioritized complex female friendships. Thank you for doing that.
Very kind. I mean, very kind. Yeah, I think both Casey and I, at the time we were writing this movie, we had just written our two-woman sketch comedy show, which was every sketch was about weird friendships, and between two women, either little girls or old ladies, and everyone in between. So I think both of us in our work that we've done together have been really struck by how intimate and powerful and complex the female relationships are in our lives, in some ways much more so than the relationship I have with my husband. You know, it's just, there's a level of intimacy two women can get to and go to so quickly that hadn't really been explored. So yeah, that to us, that was always the heart of the movie.
Yeah. Was it difficult to get that pitch secured with the studio, with when you guys are doing drafts and all of that?
To get that in there, you mean?
And to keep it in there.
I mean, it was hard because the movie was called Bride Wars. And so I think, you know, but we were very clear, I think, right from the beginning when we pitched Kate Hudson that we wanted a female, for it to be kind of a rom-com with a female love story sort of at the heart of it. And obviously they have to fight and there needs to be weddings and all of that, but I think, yeah, I mean, I think it was always in that draft. That was kind of our mission with it. Yeah, I think that the studio is going to, I remember hearing that women would follow male narratives, but men would not follow female narratives.
We still hear that.
Yeah, we still hear that. And I just was like so struck by that. And hurt. It just seemed so crazy to me. I think the pushback we got from the studio or the trouble we always had in our drafts was with the comedy and the level we were comfortable going to and where they were comfortable going to. Yeah, we always had to kind of scale it back and make it a bit more like palatable. So I think in some ways we wanted it to be a much harder comedy, but yes. You get what you get and you just get upset. Yeah, so that was really our biggest challenge with Fox and New Regency, even though we were supported in many ways. That was the biggest tension. Especially since we had not written one thing. Yeah, they were like, not even take your paychecks and shut the fuck up. Yeah. And I was like, what paycheck?
This is quite the debut, though. How intimidated were you pitching directly to Kate Hudson and Hathaway to be like, be in my movie, please?
Very intimidated, yeah. Yeah, it was a crazy day. And I remember we were first introduced by one of the producers as stand-up comedians, which we are not, and were not at that time. And so he was like, there are these two stand-ups, Casey and June, and I was like, okay, hi. I guess I'm a stand-up now. I guess I have to now live my life this way. And also, we made the choice, which I think was right, but to act out every single role because we are actors. And I'm not sure that's what everyone's up to. So I was like, doing voices, and she was like, accents and physicality. A lot. And just across a couch 5 feet from someone, it was a lot to take in. Yeah. But yeah, it was terrifying. We were so scared. It was at a time where we were living in LA and sharing a car between the two of us and another friend who all lived on different parts of town. So it was just a wild time. Yeah, we would have to accompany each other to auditions, and the two would just sit in the car and wait for the other one.
Very good friends.
Yeah, good
friendship.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we all went in on a Toyota Corolla together. But yeah, it was terrifying and fun, and I think we had I don't know, in some ways I'm like, we didn't know enough to be as scared as I probably would be now if I knew that was such a big opportunity. We did not know anything. I have to tell the story where
one of the executives called us after our first script, and again, we were taking a train to Philadelphia to try to take lessons quickly with a screenwriting teacher. We took 3. When we got the job, we were like, "Ooh, how do you write a movie? Thank you." And the executive,
3 acts? Okay, let's start.
we were like, "Great, let's go." So the executive called and said, "You know, it's really great draft, but we do need a lot more set pieces." And we were like, "Yes, so do we." We agreed. We got off the phone.
Waiting for that note.
Yep. Thank you. And we got off the phone and we looked at each other. We had no idea what they were saying, which is like more physical comedy. And June was like, "I guess we could work in more furniture."
They're not understanding the settings.
And June was like, "An armoire could be in the entryway." I was like, "That's good. That's good."
We just have to describe it.
Just
More
more
coming through.
literally set pieces. That was tough.
Production design is very good for this movie.
Yeah.
The one thing we did, we haven't talked about any of this in a long time, but the one thing we did was we cut a trailer for the movie, remember that? With someone we knew as a voiceover artist.
A guy that my dad works with in Virginia.
And so we had written, because they kept on saying to us, like, what are the trailer moments? Like, when you're pitching it, you have to think of, like, oh, how are the studio going to sell it? So, like, we're kind of constantly thinking of the trailer moments. So we cut together a sound clip where this very lovely gentleman in Alexandria, Virginia, recorded himself saying, like, "In a world where..."
And then we put in music, it was like dun 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 dun. Yeah, record scratch was like and we were like, there she
From
is.
Almost Famous, Kate Hudson, and Devil Wears Prada, Anne Hathaway.
They're like, yeah, we know who's in the movie.
And then we had to audition for our own parts, remember that? Of course I do, yeah.
So tell us about writing those 2 parts, because they're major scene-stealing moments, so thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
You know, we became very friendly with the director, Gary Winnick. And he, at the time, he was really supportive of us being in the movie, but we still had to audition. And although I have no memory of the audition, I thought I was offered it. Casey told me a few weeks ago I was not. But Gary just wanted us to do whatever we wanted to do. So Casey already had a career at that point, so could only do the part she did, and I was very much so available. And they just really, I don't think my part was in the original draft that we wrote.
I don't think so.
We just sort of made up a role. And
But it was really funny.
yeah. Thank you. And then he just literally just said, "What do you want to do?"
Just
and
let us
created
do
it. And then yeah, we were able to improvise. I mean, most of the stuff you saw the 2 of us do is improv.
Amazing. So you guys said you wanted to go harder on a lot of the comedy. A lot of great gags in this. We have, Butter of the Month Club. We have the tanning booth. What are some of the war gags that did not make it into the script or cutting you
I remember we wanted Kate's hair to get shaved all off, right? Was that in there?
No, her hair turns blue in
Right.
the studio version of
Yeah.
the movie, but our draft,
It all fell out,
it all
yeah.
fell out. So she woke up completely bald. She woke up, but they took something terrible happened with the chemicals, and so she was just bald.
And I think when they fought each other, we wanted them to beat the shit out of each other.
Okay, so that was the other thing that
They were like, no.
and this was also sort of the constraints of shooting and production, but we just watched the last 10 minutes with you all, and I remember in our draft, the actual collision of the weddings, the way we wrote it was Emma's whole entire wedding party and guests also came out to fight the other wedding. So it was a massive brawl where it was father-in-law and father-in-law.
And I think when Anne is exposed in that video, we wanted titties out,
She
all
was
of
a
it.
full sex tape.
Instead, she's just dancing.
So there were things. I mean, and in the big 3rd act set piece of the war, entire tables were going to be thrown over, and cake was destroyed, and it was a giant battle scene. And I remember one of the constraints being the actual wedding venue because it was all mirrors. And so when I was watching it, I was like, all I remember is our director, Gary, freaking out because it was so difficult to shoot anything. Like every shot, someone was like, I can see the gaff in the background. Like there was something to be seen because of being in a hall of mirrors. So that got scaled back.
That's movie making.
That's movie making. I can't remember if that was a studio note or if that was just the constraints of this.
What a missed opportunity. I mean, I need
that was a missed opportunity.
Showdown
for sure.
Really badly. This movie does such a good job at poking fun, skewering, totally blasting the craziness of the wedding industry. I watched maybe the first half hour of this screening, and I've never heard quite the gasp when Candice Bergen is like, their dates are 3.5 months away, and this audience went, the drama unfolds.
This is a thriller. This is like some Black Mirror shit.
Yeah, it's really freaky.
You know, I'm sorry to say, but I haven't seen it since the premiere 10 years ago, and I was sitting up there with Jude, and I go, why did they have to have their weddings on the same day? Simply forgot why.
I think it was Liv's anniversary.
Yes.
Okay.
As her parents' anniversary.
Oh,
And then why did Emma need it on that day?
No
It
one
was the
can
only
explain
day.
it.
It was the only day.
Yes.
It was the only day.
And then the
Oh, right, okay.
And then the secretary got it.
Thank you. I'm sorry to have to ask
What
at
did
the
you write?
Q&A the audience what happened in the movie.
What did you write about that?
Details of your characters was on the other day, and then
There was another pride.
that's right. The
Me.
department store showdown.
In fact, me. No, I was the reason. It sounds like it was me. That was definitely your fault.
I mean, honestly, the wedding industry has only gotten slightly hectic in the past 10 years. We not only have very regularly destination weddings, bachelorette parties, though that one was very crazy, are now full-on vacations. Have you guys had to go on like bachelorette party? Oh, all y'all in your wallets are like, yes, we got to. And I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday. I'm sure some of you guys did. This influencer basically branded her proposal, or her fiance says that he did it all. And it was a multi-city extravaganza, all unfolding on Instagram, just amazing. So if you two were to ever write a sequel that pokes some more fun at the craziness of the wedding industry.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more. All the weddings have hashtags now. Also, engagement photos were not a thing yet when we were writing this. Like, that wasn't happening, and I find those to be sad.
They're devastating.
The thing that I think was kind of ahead of its time in some ways was Liv kind of forced. Is that the character's name?
Yes.
Sorry, I say that because we changed the character's name.
Don't try to say that.
No, we did. It was Liz and Emma, and I was like, I'm going to say this, but so I do think that her kind of forcing the proposal or getting it to happen because she wanted it was something we wanted to happen, because it has always felt like crazy to me that it's something women wait for.
Yeah.
It's just odd.
Yeah.
It's just an odd thing we all subscribe to. So I think that idea was certainly ahead of its time. I don't know what else we would do.
But it would be really funny.
It would be great.
It would be.
And then we'd forget about it 10 years later.
That's just part
There'd
of
be a lot of furniture.
Oh, the set pieces we would have.
We would have a long table.
How did writing together change your friendship?
June.
I mean, I don't know that it did in a way. I mean, we wanted to be actresses so badly that when we didn't have agents or managers, you had an agent. Sorry, everyone. This is like watching elders, like trying to figure out their lives. We'll be done soon here.
I did have an agent. I think I did have an agent.
Let's step outside and get some things
No, I
straight.
did. When we got
You
this.
did, and
Yes.
I didn't have anyone.
Yes, and that was a big deal.
That was
It
like,
was
what the
big.
hell? I was so upset. So we went to the Aspen HBO Comedy Festival with our two-woman show, and I'm going to get to that question, but I truly am. And we got a call that a big agent at UTA wanted to sit down with us after seeing our show, and we were just like, wow, like our lives are changing.
We did it.
We did it. I'm a star.
It's happened.
Yeah, I was like, I'm no longer talking to any friends I knew, because I don't need them. And when we
quit our day jobs, like immediately upon that phone call.
Yeah, and we were meeting the agent like 1 hour later, and we were just like, fuck everyone else. And when we sat down with him, he gave us some very devastating news, which was that he wanted to sign us as writers. And we went in the bathroom, and I was crying. I was like, he thinks we're ugly! And so I would say though, then they signed us and we forced them to kind of like represent us as actors, which they did not want to do, I don't think, at first. And in terms of, it didn't so much change our relationship as it just sort of changed our lives, because we then were able to audition for things and write things and start a career.
Yeah, I think working together in that time in our early 20s was so insane and scary, but I can't imagine going through this career I don't think I would be anywhere near where I am and having the ability to sustain myself with what I love if it had not been for Casey being my friend.
Look at that.
It's true. It was so amazing to have someone who was more ambitious than I was and a harder worker than I was, and I was a lot of
That
both.
is so funny because I think of you as such of a harder worker than me. No, truly, and more ambitious in the way that I say it's a good thing, because I think a lot of writing partnerships, I think someone is so much more so that sometimes one person wants to do more work, has bigger goals, and I do feel like we were so well matched in terms of like really wanting to put our voice out there together, and I don't think I would have done it obviously without you.
But I do think that's a very special thing, and it's something that's just very special to us. And, you know, it gives you the ability to accept when you're just going through failure and success, both are easier to bear and to kind of breathe through when you have someone by your side doing that. I think the thing also that made it easy for us to relate to these characters was there was this tension of, if Casey gets discovered for her enormous talent, like, will I be left behind? And, you know, that was, I think, definitely in our that element was what we both understood about the movie, which was the idea that you have this friend that you're so close to, and are they gonna leave you for this guy and this other life, which, you know, there is something about when your girlfriend gets married or starts a family or whatever.
I was devastated when you got engaged to Paul. No, I was so happy for you, but it is such a like, oh, where's my place in this? And I think we all know that feeling, and because we met in a clown class at NYU when we were 17, and then we've really gone through all stages of life together, that I think there is something so special that I think was hopefully infused in those characters.
Yeah, for sure.
The relationship is clearly thriving, and as are both of your careers. And it's super rare.
One girl. It's okay.
It's incredibly rare to have a thriving acting career by breaking out essentially by writing a studio movie and going through that entire process so early on. And how has it affected how you approach acting jobs and when you get a script and you know what it was like behind the scenes that way?
I think we had a unique advantage in that when we first started our careers, we were given the immediate yes to create material for ourselves. And I think that as an actor, you're at the mercy of everyone else, and you can't act by yourself unless you do a one-woman show, and no one likes those. But you can write by yourself, and it gives you real agency, and just, you know, you want to get your voice out there, and I felt like that helped our acting because I wasn't going in there feeling so desperate. In the back of my mind, I thought, well, we'll create something for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And I also think going through this process, working on a studio comedy, made me realize, because we both went to acting school. Yes, we were in clown class, but we were also like working on Three Sisters, and you know, I had such a reverence for like the text, and didn't think I could change a word of dialogue. And what I realized going through this process with the casting directors and our director was just that we were also skilled improvisers, and so if you could make something better and had the ability to write on your feet, then that's such an advantage in comedy. And so from then on, I would start to improvise in auditions, and you know, not everybody loves it, but most people, because we were in that position, were like, oh, you can make this better? Like, yes, please. We've been listening to the same audition over and over again, like, please do. So that I think I learned, just that comedies were much more of a collaborative art form in that way, which I love. And yeah, I certainly learned because we were able to watch the movie getting made.
So this movie has complex female characters. It has, it's a romantic comedy that has a breakup in it. I was really annoyed that this movie doesn't have the critical praise that it should in my head. Do you think that if it were released 5 or 10 years later, so like today, that it would be received differently? The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
Sure. It's interesting because now with all these shows like Dead to Me, I've just been watching it, and Pen 15, seems to be a big resurgence of kind of the buddy comedy and female buddy comedy. And June and I did another movie after this, an indie film that we wrote and starred in together in a much kind of broader buddy comedy. I do think
Ass Backwards, available on iTunes.
Ass Backwards. I do think in that sense, it was a bit kind of prior to...
Yeah. I mean, I think about some of the reviews we got and the critical reception of the movie, and I really, looking back on it now, find it so misogynistic. And weirdly, like they were calling the movie misogynistic and woman-hating, and I have always found the critical appreciation of rom-coms to be very misogynistic, because it really devalues and makes fun of anything that is deemed feminine. So to take on a wedding, for example, or the wedding industry, which we were trying to do a critique of, but they, you know, the reviews were just so brutal because they felt like they felt it was so frivolous and it was so dumb. And I'm like, go watch a fucking, I don't know, Gollum movie or any of this stupid shit. Like, you cannot tell me that a wedding dress is any less like valuable. Like there's such inherent misogyny and sexism in the way rom-coms are viewed. Yeah, so I look at that and I'm like, I wonder how that would be, you know, received now, just because I think people would maybe have a harder time talking about female things in the way that they were. And I think ultimately that love story between the two women was not something that was being done at that time at all. So, yeah.
And that's why we need more diverse voices in film criticism.
Great.
We have a couple of minutes for a couple audience questions. If you guys have any, please raise your hand. You're right here in the front.
Hi, this is my favorite movie. It consists, all the quotes from this movie are like the only words I say to my best friends.
God bless you.
Truly, and to my sister, like, only. But I guess my question is, how did this story even come to your guys' minds if you were sort of looking at the entertainment industry as a way for you guys to become actors and sort of happen to be...
So to be clear, there was an original script written by a man named Greg DePaul, and we fought for shared credit on the screenplay. We did not get it, but we on story by, but we did get it for the screenplay. So he originally had this concept of two women fighting over a wedding venue.
Yeah, and it about 8 years before it was made, and then it was at Miramax. It got like lost in the shuffle, and then this woman, Heidi Sherman, at Regency kind of unearthed it when she saw our two-woman show. Also, the same day we were revealed to be writers by our agent, who's still our agent to this day. She kind of thought of us for this movie, and kind of she's the complete person that championed us. So
And the things that we really changed, there were many, 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 many things we changed from the original script, but one of the main ones and our main pitch to the studio was that it should not be their fault that the weddings were on the same day. So in the very original version of the movie, they just wanted it. And
Women.
yeah, exactly. And we were like, there's no world in which you would jeopardize your relationship and, you know, with your best friend over this. So having that sort of mistake happen to us was really like important.
and I know I said I didn't remember how that happened, but it is all coming back. Thank you for
We'll
saying
remember
that.
the whole movie by the end of tonight.
In the pink, yes.
I'm sure when you guys were working on this that you were probably thinking sometimes, like what would have happened if we were in the movie. So I'm curious, which of the two roles do you think each of you would have played if you were in the movie?
Well, when we were pitching it,
I think I played Liv.
yes.
I played Kate Hudson.
And you did, and I played Emma, and I remember having to do in the pitch, like the more emotional, this scene at the end, where, you know, she breaks up with Fletcher, and I remember having to deliver it to no one. Just like
Well, I was probably playing Fletcher too, so we were playing all the roles. I remember I also played Emma's father.
But I remember also Kate, though, when we were first writing the draft, because she was the first one attached, and a producer on it, she was
the
open
person
to,
that hired us.
and the person who hired us, she was open to playing either. So she also didn't know who she wanted to play. She felt it was going to be decided by whoever, you know, came on board with her. But I think we're both combinations of both voices, really.
And we were just so excited to even have, I mean, we hadn't had one line in anything. So we were happy to be in it. Thank you.
Yes.
I think we need the stage version of just you two doing all the roles, plus the double wedding brawl at the end somehow.
All of it.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, everybody.
Oh, there's
for-
one other
Oh, there is
person.
one more.
I mean,
sorry, sir.
Everybody
One
gets
more.
up and leaves.
Okay,
so-
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm a really big fan of your podcast. What would their Real
So-
Housewives taglines be?
Oh, Casey's podcast. I also host a podcast. Go ahead,
I'll take this one. What would
the bride's Real Housewives taglines be?
Casey. Oh, wow. Pass on that question. Let's wrap it up.
You said, let's give her a chance. She's
All right, go ahead.
a great question.
Go ahead.
What city
Yeah.
too?
This is really, can you help?
No, this question is not directed to me. But take a sip of water.
God, that's a hard one. I mean, I don't know, June. You
We
said
could
you're a
each
great
have- I
improviser.
should never have said that.
You said you love to
Does
think
anyone
on
else
your
have a
feet, and comedy
question?
is collaborative.
A
That's
question
what
that
you
does
said.
not force us to write on the spot. Anyone. Okay, it was so great to be here, you guys. Thank you